Once before we get started, thank you everyone for being here. My name is Daniel Whitney, and I'm part of the Spring Computer Science Capstone that worked on an interdisciplinary mobile application connecting students with tutors. And so, one second here. So this is the team. Like I said, I'm Daniel Whitney. I'm a computer science major. I graduate this semester.
I'm Jake Gutierrez. I'm a computer science major graduating this May.
I'm Dominic Blea. I'm a computer science major with a theater minor, and I'm a junior graduating next year.
I am Ethan Nunez. I'm a computer science major, and I'm graduating in May of 22.
I'm Guy Greathouse. I'm a senior. I'm a computer science major, and I'm graduating this semester.
Hi, I'm Whitney Whitehill. I'm a computer science major, and I will be graduating in the spring of 22. So to get us started, what problems are we solving? So one thing that I think we've realized is we want to increase tutor engagement on campus because that seems to be slacking, as well as student engagement. I know a lot of departments offer tutoring for a lot of subjects, but there's not a lot of people attending or going to the tutoring sessions. And so our hope is that this app will allow more flexibility for the tutor to schedule times that, like in results, students will have one place to see when and where the tutors will be holding their sessions. And by doing this, we also think it'll increase professional development. So both tutors and students will have a greater opportunity to schedule their life and get the help that they need.
So how will this really pretty much help our school and our tutors? So first off, this app will really help with our school-sponsored tutors having a broader range of availability, allowing them to choose what times they are available, as well as allowing students to pick slots and tutors to know exactly when people are going to come if they're going to. Another big thing we have is reviews on tutors, which will help generate needed feedback for tutor performance. This in turn will bring in data insight, making it easier for the Department for Academic Success to really help make resource decisions easier, as well as help students that are trying to be tutored see which tutors are probably best for them, like whether tutors will be better with hands-on learning, oral learning, visual learning, if that's what they're looking for. Also, this app will really help with centralizing a virtual space for all tutoring on campus. This way, whenever students are looking for tutors, they don't have to look on to different websites for different kinds of classes or different kinds of subjects to find the tutors that they need. It's all in one app, one space. They can just look it up, the categories they need.
So we're going to address some concerns that were brought up by the school and that we had thought of. And so I think first and foremost is safety, because this app will give time and location of tutors and when they'll be. We made it to where only Southwestern students can log into the app. So that will prevent anyone from outside of SU from being able to access those schedules. Another issue is honor code. We don't want it to be used to abuse the honor code or for students to cheat. We want it so that students can actually get help that they need. So another function we have within the app is students will be able to review tutors, and tutors will be able to review students. And we have a concern that some students might take advantage of this and use inappropriate language or discriminatory language. And so we have measures put in place, such as reporting, to prevent that from happening. Another concern that we have is minimal intervention. So the school will not be hiring anybody to monitor the app once we all leave. So we have tried to create the app in a way that it'll be long-term and it won't require that much maintenance. So now that, you know, tutors will have this app to schedule times whenever they want versus, you know, from 6 to 8 or whenever they were tutoring. We want to make sure that that tutor's time is protected, and so that they're not over scheduling or feel obligated to, you know, schedule more sessions than they would like to. And then additionally, this is not a perfect solution for all of the tutoring issues at Southwestern. This is simply just supposed to be a tool used to help address some of those issues that have been brought up by the school.
Got it. So, you know, for this application, what's interesting about it is that, you know, it was kind of born like a year and a half ago, you know, back when we used to be able to hang out in the CS lounge. You know, we would see tutors interacting with students in the CS lounge, and me and other CS majors were, you know, talking about potential projects that we could do to just learn more about software development outside of class. And it was just like a perfect opportunity. And so the first conversations for this application were occurring, you know, like December of 2019. And so we've been thinking about it for a while and have been in communication. We couldn't really predict what was going to happen March of last year. The development of the application was kind of put on hold until our capstone this semester, but you know, it's something that we've been considering and working on for a while. And so, you know, what we're going to do is we'll talk a little bit about the design and kind of what our process was and what tools we're using, and then we'll wrap up with the demo at the end.
Yeah, so before we actually started building this application, we needed to get all of our ideas down on paper to help us better visualize how we thought the application needed to look. So with this, our main focus was to build something that was familiar to students so that they would be able to navigate through the application a lot more easily. So this visualization helped us better understand which screen went to which screen. And we also used this to figure out like which features we thought were going to be essential for the application. And we kind of wanted to model some of the more popular social media applications that are out there. That way students were familiar with it.
So here is a diagram of the backend infrastructure. So starting from the left, we have our devices connecting to our backend. So that could be the mobile application. We also have an admin interface, and that connects to Google Cloud Platform. And we're using a specific service called Google Cloud Run. And what that allows us is have multiple instances of the same server, and Google Cloud Run will load balance between them. And like if in case there's many requests or the CPU usage or the RAM usage is too high, it will create more instances and scale between. And all of those specific instances connect to a Cloud SQL server running PostgreSQL and our Google APIs, which we use for authentication and getting Google Calendar information.
So this is a demo of the mobile application. It's currently not on the store right now, so you wouldn't be able to find it, but this is just our development environment. And so this is what the first page looks like. The user can sign in with Google. This is where they accept the honor code and the student handbook. You know, Whitney brought up earlier how this is kind of important for us to have something like this up front so that when the user logs into the app, we're addressing the honor code in the student handbook and just making sure that they understand that this virtual space is still school. The homepage is going to have a lot of useful information about making the most out of tutoring sessions. And this is the user's profile page where they can see what their About Me is and see what reviews they have. We strongly, are going to strongly encourage that tutors use this About Me as a way to give as much information as they can about the services that they're going to be providing. When a user is searching, they can search for either a subject or they can search for the name of a tutor. This is what it looks like when you get the results of, looking for every tutor. And then, here we'll go to a user's profile where we'll get a chance to see their about me, see what reviews that this tutor has received, and get an idea of what their schedule is. And then once we see a time that works for us, we can add to calendar. Now, what you don't see in this is that when the user is adding an event to a calendar, we create a new calendar event for that user and put it on their school calendar. And we also generate like a notification time as well on top of that to make sure that the user sees it on their calendar and they're being notified. And then the information that is being added to that event is where the tutor is going to be physically located. So like FJS 300, or whatever the circumstance is. And then at that point, the tutor and the individual have access to each other's about me. So it's a chance for the tutor to get a feel for what this individual's, looking to get help with. And so, so from here, we'll jump into what we use to build this.
Yeah, so kind of going off of what others have said throughout the presentation, these are just some of the tools that we used throughout the development process. So as far as the front end goes, we used JavaScript and React Native and Expo to help develop. Oh, I'm sorry. So here, just give me a second. Hold on. Sorry about that. Anyway, so our front end was able to develop the front end of the app with JavaScript and React Native and Expo. We all used GitHub and Discord. And in the back end, we used FastAPI, PostgreSQL, Python, Tortoise ORM, and Google Cloud Platform, as discussed through Jake's presentation. And so we used Tortoise ORM to talk with our database and FastAPI, and we used Docker to kind of wrap up all of our components of the application in multiple containers. And then, so now that we've kind of gotten most of the work done for this application, kind of the things that we need to still implement and do is to deploy the application to the Google Play and Apple App Stores. The second, we need to have more robust device testing. So we've really just been testing on our own devices and some close friends' devices where that's great, but we need a little bit more to understand kind of where we need to either improve upon or just test out different cases and things like that. And lastly, we need to add an review and notification system, which I think we're in the middle of doing. We're almost done with that. So hopefully that'll be done here soon, where considering that there's 3 of us that are going to be gone and 3 of us that are going to be here till I think next year, they will be able to help out with all of the rest of this future work.
So I'm going to just run through this very briefly since we're getting close to time. We want to thank Dr. Anthony for helping us and guiding us through the project. We really want to thank Dr. Leach for bringing us in and to the tutor working group and getting a chance to present our idea and get that feedback that we needed to build something that's going to meet their needs. And definitely we want to thank the computer science and math department for giving us a chance to work on a project that that we came up with and put as much time in as we have for this project. And so we'll open it up now for any questions.
I have a question. For whenever you authenticate, if it's a user, is that done through the CAS or how is that done?
That is entirely through Google. So it goes through Google, then CAS, then back to Google, and then to our backend, and then to the front end.
Sweet.
What were you doing with the database? There was some, I didn't know what that tortoise tool is for database access. Are you doing something unusual that's just different than a standard kind of SQL thing, or what exactly are you doing there?
ORMs are really helpful for managing the schema of the database and like creating models, and it's kind of like a query builder as well. So it allows us to have like these migrations that we can push to the database, and we can call like Python objects as they were database objects and manipulate them. And
is it still like SQL under the hood, but you interact with
Yes.
it via Python? Okay, makes sense. Cool.
Yeah.
How, we all know that software doesn't always age well. How many years do you expect this to remain viable?
Well, the back end is good for a very long time. It's more of the front end, which is the potential issue, because we're using React Native, which is it's a JavaScript library that cross compiles our JavaScript code into native Android and iOS packages that we can put on the Google Play and Apple Store. And it's these devices are in a constant state of change, right? There's always a new device, and we all know like how often our phones are updating and how often the applications that are on our phones are updating. And so I don't think I could like answer that question specifically, but what I would say is that I'm very happy that at least one person on the front end team is going to be here for the next year to monitor that. Because I imagine that, because we're not deployed on as many devices, there's going to be some kind of growing pain once we actually get it deployed and on the store. And we're going to need people like Whitney who can, respond to that, to those issues in the future.
Yeah, there's not too many differences. I guess it's like the major software updates, like new versions of iOS, that just have different styling standards. So it might not necessarily be that it, breaks the app. It just might be that we have to update its looks and such, not so much like the code itself.
Time for one more question.
Is there an easy in-app way to report bugs? Just like an email address that goes to like.
Yeah, well, in the very like first page, we include a link to the Center for Academic Success, and they'll have the like they'll be not necessarily in charge, but they'll be the administrators of the application.
Yeah, kind of advice for, I guess, everyone whose project is going to live beyond their time at SU. You might want to put that in there and then make sure that it's hooked up to an email address where someone's actually going to get that eventually.
It's a good idea.
Well, thank you